All right, this is going to be a brief overview of the cheat sheet that I've made on how to just kind of quick and dirty utilize these cheap $20 BaoFeng UV5R radios. So I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm not giving a large in-depth overview of this entire thing. I don't want it to be extremely long. I'm going to go over the points that are going to be able to help you interpret everything that's there and just a brief synopsis. So here we have our VHF. So this is your very high frequency range in between these megahertz. This performs well in very hilly environments with a higher degree of reflectivity. Always very fun words to say. So this is generally taken up in the channels you're going to be able to use in the multi-use radio service, MURS. It's a license-free set of 5 specific frequencies to be able to use for certain people. I'm going to have these programmed into your radios or specific ones. Business band or marine band, that's not important right now. Our high band VHF amateur radio, known as ham. So there's going to be a lot of traffic on these. There's a lot of interesting people, some gatekeeping communities that are unfortunate, but these are going to be good bands to transmit on if you have to, although they do require a license. So these BaoFengs, because they have a removable antenna, are technically ham radios, so it requires licenses to be able to use them for different things, and that is not a law. It is just a policy by the FCC that they haven't enforced on anybody in 12 years. So you make the decision to do what you think is best for you. So next is our ultra high frequency UHF bands here. This is for urban environments, higher signal loss in rural dense vegetation. So you wouldn't want to use this if you're in the woods. This is specifically made for penetrating through objects. This is also going to be programmed in certain people's radios. So the 4 services within this UHF band, there's the family radio service, the FRS service. So this is a low service that doesn't require a license, low power, so it's not going to transmit super far, but something that you can easily use if you're just out and about. And then is your general mobile radio service, GMRS. This has a license, but it is not a test. It's like a fishing license. It's, I think, $35, and it's good for 10 years at the FCC. The website is a bitch, but it is absolutely worth doing. Some of these are highlighted there. Business, no touch, no touch, no touch. So your frequency and channel modes, some of the steps to actually be able to do this. So I'm just going to grab one of these guys and just walk you through some of the first basic steps that you're going to want to do when unboxing this. So you're going to have all this sorts of stuff here. So the first thing that I'm going to do, let's go ahead and get this antenna in here, is I'm sure that I have something programmed in here right now. There's going to be some weird factory setting. There is also a setting that is programmed into a lot of them to be FCC compliant, so they can't transmit on ham or GMRS things, but we're going to go through the steps on what to do about that. So the first thing that you want to do here is do that factory reset. So the radio is powered off. Push and hold the PTT button, which is push to talk button right here, the monitor button, which is right below it, and the VFO button, and then you're going to turn the power on. So 1, 2, 3. Factory reset. You can now transmit on whatever you want. Oh, hello there. So the next thing that we're going to want to do a total factory reset on everything in the radio, this is all the channels, all the settings, everything. You're going to want to obviously turn on the radio, hit menu, hit 4 and 0, which is going to be to the last menu item here. Press menu again to select the next piece. We are going to cycle to all, and then we are going to cycle to all. Press menu again to delete everything. We now have a brand new radio. So the frequency and channel modes that you have here, this is set in frequency and channel mode here with this little orange button. We're going to bounce it back and forth. Of course, we're speaking Chinese right now. The frequency mode is essentially where you're going to enter your frequencies, enter the different settings to save, and then you save those into the channel modes. There's only 2 designating the top end and the low end of what the radio is able to pick up. What's one of the next pieces here? Oh, entering and changing a frequency. This is a super simple one. So the first thing you want to do is go to frequency mode, and then you're going to enter that desired frequency. So let's just say 1, 4. So we're going to put 14445 into here. So that's the frequency that we want. So we can use this A, B button to cycle to the top and the bottom of the radio here to select the different channels that we want to change. The way that I design these radios, and there's instructions in here, is this little caret indicates which one you're transmitting on, but it's actually a dual watch feature. So you're listening to both bands. So you can coordinate with different people, or if you just want to monitor something, and also be able to speak on something else, you just cycle through those with the A to B here. So you do want to make sure this is up on the top with what you want to enter. Let's see. What I'm going to want to do is enter menu, and then 7 to the memory channel save. We're going to enter the channel we want to save it on. That's 1. That's now saved. So exit channel mode, and then there's channel 1 right there. That simple. All right, the next step is going to be actually programming different steps in the radio. Sorry for the intermission there. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is there's all sorts of annoying noises happening here. This is, I mean, truly horrific, right? So we're going to go to our frequency mode. We're going to turn that way down. The first thing I'm going to start with is the beep. I'm just going to give you guys just an example of how to do this. So that's menu number 8. So we just input 8, beep, right there. Cycle to off. Oh boy, so there's one annoying thing off the list. Voice. This is one of the best ones ever. So that's number 14 to voice. Now this is where you see you have this wonderful option to have Chinese off or English. Now I'm not saying that you should, but you absolutely can be able to test someone's ability to use their radio by just going to that channel number 14 and switching it on to Chinese for them and seeing if they can figure it out. It's actually quite a fun thing to do, but you know, not saying to do it. Deleting channels to 28. Oh, let's see. Squelch, transmit power, battery save, TDR, the dual watch. That's the explanation of how to be able to set up that feature. Busy channel lockout, alarm. Let's see, the Roger, the counterpoint. So that's an important piece. Well, that doesn't really matter to much of anybody here, but I did make these. I'm sending 2 people. It is like 19 inches of this copper gauge wire with the ring attachment to fit under the antenna. This essentially turns your antenna into a dipole antenna and can actually make the signal a lot clearer on what you're picking up because it creates the second half of the antenna that can discharge extra static from it. Let's see. The scanner. This is one of the best uses of this radio. So in the frequency mode here, essentially, you just use the scanner button that you see right there, and you press and hold. It's now going to start scanning up. You can press down to scan down. There are different settings that you can set. All of the explanations are here. I like to set mine to the search operation. I apologize. So essentially, this means that it hits something and picks up some sort of frequency transmission going on, and it will stop and stay on that frequency. So you can get, like a whole box full of them, set them up to scan the airwaves, and eventually you're going to be able to find out who's talking on what channels. Narrow and wide band. I usually have this set in wide band. They just have different powers, depending on what you're doing. How to communicate on the radio. Super simple. Less is more. Speak as little and concise as possible. No good news. Designated communication windows to set. Learn to utilize salute reports or a standardized system of communicating information to make it faster. And the conversational format is always, hey you, this is me. I'm not going to say, hey, this is me calling out to who. Hey you, this is me. It's just the standard. Some licensing operations do things differently. That's just an easy one to use. Pro words, which is just a bunch of different words that mean more than one word, again, to keep things concise. So one of the most fun functions here that I have learned about is the GMRS system. That is that license that is essentially like a fishing license. It is cheap to get. There's not a huge involvement process. There is a little bit of a learning curve, but it's definitely worth doing. Now, this is specifically on how to connect to a GMRS repeater. I'm going to dedicate some time to explaining this because it is a little bit complicated. Do all of those other settings, even if you're going to change it to from a desired setting that I've already pre-programmed, change it to something else and put it back. Get used to how to utilize the radio, make it familiar, and then do something like this. So repeaterbook.com is the place that you're going to go. Print this all out, write it down, it doesn't matter. I'm going to use their format here. So essentially what a repeater is a large antenna. Imagine it's like two radios that someone has, and they have a radio that's inputting all the information of who's around them, and then one that's transmitting that off of that antenna longer distances. So people can connect from a lot of different areas. Now, there's going to be a frequency that you receive on and that it transmits on. There's going to be a tone that signals the specific tone to either receive or transmit with it. And then there's going to be the uplink, which is the offset. So obviously, if you're going to be listening to people, you can have them transmitting on the same frequency with those multiple inputs. So people input into this one, and then it gets transmitted out from the repeater through this one. Now, the standard offset for GMRS repeaters is +5 megahertz. That's not always the case, so do your research, but that is the standard. You designate a channel to program it into. I'm just gonna say this is 25. In the frequency mode, so let's just go ahead and do this one right now. So in frequency mode, enter the repeater's transmitter. That's the one that I'm receiving that it's transmitting. That is 4, 6, 2, 6, 0, 0. I'm leaving the Chinese on, by the way. Menu to save, so that's menu 27. We're just going to save it as channel 1, or actually as C channel 2 is going to be better because we already have a channel 1 saved. 22, we can't do 222. Let's just stick to 2. So now that that's saved, we're going to exit and return to our main menu. Enter the designated menu to save. Enter the offset. So the offset is going to be 4, 6, 7, 6, 0, 0. So that's going to be our input. Now we're going to enter the tone. So we press menu 1, 3 to go to the tone, and we're going to scroll all the way down to our tone, which is 141.3 hertz. Oop. Now we're going to hit menu to save that, and then immediately from here we are then going to save that again. So we're going to go to 27, memory channel, 2, and then we're going to save that again and then hit exit to go back. Now, when we go to this channel, you're going to see this plus or minus means that there's an offset into there. So you are listening on this frequency and then transmit on that offset 467 frequency. So now that tone will commit to it. If you're actually in range with the repeater, what you're going to hear when you transmit, you'll let go, and then you will receive a transmission of the repeater letting you know that it received that transmission. It always puts something out. I am not in connection with the repeater that's close to me at this time. It's just too far for this to be able to reach. But with the whip antenna and a counterpoise, we are able to pick up a repeater that is just over 20 miles away, which can connect to people, extending the range of what we can hear at least to like 60 plus miles, which is pretty cool considering it's a $20 radio with like a $15, or no, it's just a $20 antenna. There are some that are cheaper that are like $15 that would be able to pick up something like that just as much. I like that this folds up personally. So some of the repeaters will also require a receiving tone. Now to program that in, you do the exact same last step for the tone frequency before saving, or you just do it again and save it again and it will. And you use option number 11 instead of 13. So this is the transmit CTCS. And guess what? That's the receive CTCS. So that's about as much as I have to be able to cover that information. It's a pretty simple cheat sheet. I would recommend just using it. Look up what local GMRS groups are near you. You have no idea who you're going to be able to hear on a Friday night when people get together. It's absolutely an entertaining thing to do, and it helps get you used to using these.
Girlfriend, she would write she would write the guy's name on the back of her hand. That meant she was going steady. And I was going with this girl for, probably half the year. And I thought we got along good. And then all of a sudden one day my name wasn't on the back of her hand, but on her other hand was some other guy's name. Man, I was heartbroken, let me tell you.